Okay, good morning. My name is Dan Sissick, and I'm hosting in place of Samantha today, who is working but is joining us by phone. I'm also here with my awesome and great friend Catherine and Lori, who's a brand new participant who's been joining us for the last couple of weeks, who's brought some nice insight along with us. And we are still in the book Your Soul's Plan by Robert Schwartz. We're um, on what the third chapter or fourth chapter, something like that. How do I let somebody in? Sorry. Oh, there she goes. Okay, never mind. Um, so with that, I'm gonna throw it over. First I'm gonna allow everybody to introduce themselves. Once again, my name is Dan Sissick. I'm here in wonderful, hot Las Vegas, and enjoying the weather, and so looking forward to hearing what everybody says. So jump on out, everybody.
I guess I'm on, and I'm apparently unmuted. I'm Karen Lohoff in even hotter Mesa, Arizona. Excuse me, I'm trying to find my mute button.
I can jump out real quick. I'm Samantha from Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm driving today, so I'm probably not going to talk too much, but a little bit. Okay.
And Lori, I've seen you unmute a couple of times, but I have yet to hear your voice. So I'm not sure if your mic is working or not. But our friend Lori Emmons from Denver, Colorado is here as well. And I am Catherine Clement, and I'm in Shawnee, Oklahoma. And looking forward to, we're kind of in between sort of chapter 3, chapter 4, because I sort of blended the chapters a week or so ago. So it's not a big deal. We can talk about anything in there. If you're brand new to this platform, this is something that we've been doing for many, many years, and we just pick different books. We have a Facebook group, and we'll vote on which book we're gonna read, and then we just read a book, and we meet here every Saturday morning, or almost every Saturday morning, except when life gets in the way, and we discuss chapter by chapter, or sometimes it takes us 2 or 3 weeks to do one chapter. It just depends on the book and the chapter. It's a very informal, there's no, we're not promoting anything, we're not selling anything, we're just talking about different books, and a lot of them have to do with mindset. This one goes down the rabbit hole as far as you want to go, and it's basically talking about how some people believe that we are eternal souls, kind of having a human experience, but that we have many, many lifetimes, and that as eternal souls, we're all connected, and we kind of get together in a meeting, maybe like this, who knows? And we get together and we kind of pre-plan what's going to happen before we go into the next life. And it's pretty much kind of like a movie script, we all just decide what actors, what parts we're going to play. And Lori says her mic is down. Sorry about that. You can I don't know. Maybe it's just a loose connection or something.
Yeah, cause I tried to unmute her and it wouldn't let me.
Yeah. So, the concept is when we have these, horrible challenges that come up in our life, is that just because God hates us? Is that, punishment for something that we did when we were 5? Is it, something we did in another life that we're having to pay for now? Or is it simply a way to learn something? Because I think everybody, if we can't agree on the whole concept, we can at least agree that we, as horrible as it is, we often learn the most and the deepest lessons from going through something ourselves. It's one thing to, see something happening and to have compassion and empathy for whoever that's happening to. That's one thing. But when it happens to you or your loved one, that takes it to a whole nother level, right? So these 2 chapters are talking about, one of them was, one story was a mother who had 2 children who were autistic, and the way that the book is written, the author's communicating with through mediums and psychics. And if your red flag alarm just went off, I invite you to go over to soulproof.com and just look at the research that's being done around mediums and psychics. There are definitely some tricksters out there, but there are definitely some genuines out there as well. So go check that out. So this book, basically, he's like taking a person in an interview. They're getting a well-known and there's just a few mediums and channels and psychics that he uses who have kind of proven themselves, so to speak. So they're communicating about what the pre-life planning was or wasn't that resulted in, her having 2 autistic kids. One lady had her hand blown off in a pipe bomb or something, or maybe that was another book. I get stuff confused. No, that was this book. That was back in chapter 1. We're only in chapter 3 or 4, and it's gone so far already. Like, it's crazy. And then, moving into chapter 4, I think we're talking about, deafness and blindness and things like that. And what kind of life lessons can we learn by having some of these physical challenges? So come on out and tell me, for anybody that read the chapter or listened to it this week, because it is on Audible, if you don't like to read, give me your thoughts on this.
Oh, can you hear me? Okay, cool. Um, I think the pipe bomb was in the first chapter where she was like reaching into the mail, and that was like the intro to the or it was in the prologue, I think. But yeah. Wow, these 2 chapters have brought up just so many different things relating to this whole idea of being a spirit self versus a human, and just the different layers of depth of our potential psyche. It's just so fascinating. I was listening in the second chapter, not the second, the 4th chapter, excuse me, this week, and this one was talking about the deaf and the blind and these 2 particular individuals, and how one of them, the deaf guy, he was in his kind of like soul planning session. Sorry, I'm kind of driving and trying to think at the same time. They were saying that in one of his previous lives, he had been like a monk, and he had kind of been focusing on this inner growth, and that then when he came into this life, he decided he wanted to be deaf because he wasn't quite ready to have the full-on human experience, if you will, of seeing and hearing and everything and all the different things. And so he's kind of staying in a more reserved kind of human capacity, so that he wouldn't be experiencing as much. And I thought that was just a really interesting way of looking at it. And then similar to the woman that was blind, or that, or am I remembering them opposite? He was maybe blind and she was deaf. Yeah, sorry, I got them confused. Anyway, she was deaf, and she had chosen to be deaf in this lifetime because of experiencing something horrific in a previous life, where she had heard her mother get shot with a gunshot, and the mother's boyfriend had been the one that shot her and also had shot himself. And so she didn't want to hear anything that might remind her of that. And they were talking about the fact that she was like a super sensitive soul, and that person who had shot her mother and himself in the previous life didn't even incarnate in her lifetime this time, because they wanted to make sure that she didn't feel him in any way, in any vibratory way of any sort. And I just thought that was really, really interesting. um, just the ultra sensitivity of a soul to experience something in one life, and then to that might be sensitive to things in the next life. And it made me think about my own life and how I have felt like I've been just more of an introverted person, more focusing on my own inner thoughts and inner growth, versus a super social person who wanted to be around a lot of people. And I've always felt more comfortable in nature. So it makes me wonder, I'm like, well, maybe I was something, really reserved in a previous life of, maybe I was a monk, who knows, or a vagabond of some sort, and, or a hermit, who knows. But then, there was something else I wanted to talk about too. But I'm gonna let you guys talk for a little bit, and I'm sure it'll come back up again too later.
Interesting. After listening to what you were saying, it kind of, I'm kind of looking at myself and some of the, things I've shared and talked about when I'm on here about, things I've gone through and things I've lived through. And, you know, but it also makes me think of the type of person I am, because I kind of classify classify as an introverted extrovert. I like being around people. I enjoy being around people. I kind of crave it at times, but there are times where, when I get so much of the world, I really want to withdraw and just kind of reconnect and I guess for me, recenter in a sense. But um, I'm looking at some of the aspects of my life, and now when you would bring that up, I was looking at my own family, of how, in a lot of ways, you know, I I, I see the family characteristics in us physically and stuff, but some of the ways I am compared to the rest of my family, like, I'm a day person. I am literally a day person. I like to get up early and, get my day going and stuff. Um, I'm a seafood lover. I love seafood and those types of things. And my family, most of them, except for maybe my one aunt, my grandmother, are pretty much night owls. I think my sister-in-law is a morning person too, kind of, but they're like night owls. Don't get me wrong, I love good steak, but if I had my choice, if you were to give me the choice between steak or lobster or something, I'd go with the lobster. And all of them would go with the steak. And, it's like I'm looking at all these little differences, and it's almost like, are you really my family? Are you really? But yet, when you look at us physically and stuff, and the characteristics and some of the way you see the, you know, resemblances and stuff there, but even then, there's such a stark contrast in some things that it's like, okay, are these really my, in my mind, in my concept, and how I see God has placed, everybody in my life to, but how does that play in? And what's the juxtaposition there, and how does it really fit in with me, and the things I'm going through and stuff like that. So that was interesting what you said, because it made me kind of think a little differently on some of the things I'm thinking.
thought Karen was going to jump out, but I think she's got somebody in her room talking to her right at the second. She'll be out in a second here. Join us when you can. Yeah, isn't it interesting how like I can just look back at my life and see maybe family dynamics or situations that occurred that definitely had a profound effect on my life or really pushed me to be, because maybe one person in my life or my family was a certain way, it pushed me to be, completely on the other side of the fence or something, things like that. Just little things. I can look back and see so many things. And of course, I experience miracles daily. Like I'm just absolutely blown away pretty much every day. And it was so funny, just about maybe a week ago now, my mom, we've been pretty much sheltering in place. I'm here at my mom's, and she has a couple of things that she has to go out and do, but other than that, we're pretty much staying in. And she had some friends come over last week, and she went to open up the door for them, and I'm like, no, they can't come in here. And I felt bad at the time. I felt like, gosh, you're being such a bitch. But I mean, it was so, I had such a, I don't know these people, but like I had such a strong no that I just felt like they should not be in the house. Well, yesterday or day before, we find out that that lady probably has has been exposed, and we don't know if she's tested positive yet or not. But it wasn't anything that I had against them. It was just one of those spur of the moment things where I had such a strong feeling about it, didn't know why, even beat myself up over it. Because I thought, gosh, Catherine, your mom finally has a friend come over and you like won't even let them in the house. Don't be such a bitch. And but then you find out a week later, oh, that's why that happened. So I think we all have lots of stories like that. Lori says, I am so wait a minute, let me pull that up where I can get off the screen. So Lori says, I'm so opposite thinker of my entire family, and I don't get that connection there. Certain aspects of this teaching or understanding seems like another religion or doctrine, a set of beliefs you just keep thinking. How do you think that duality plays a part in this thinking? That's a great question. Anybody want to step out and talk to that? Okay, I'll talk to that.
I'm hearing pretty good, but I missed the question. What was the question that Lori posed?
She's saying that to her, what we're talking about just seems like another set of beliefs, another doctrine or religion type thing. And how do you think duality plays a part in this?
And my mind goes in circles.
Yeah, I think the duality comes into part of how we're still like. I believe I'm connected with God, and that I can converse, and in the ways I connect, which is through music a lot of times and things like that, certain aspects. But I think that's part of where the duality comes in. But yet the fact that I don't have true cognizant memories of.
And off he goes. Go ahead, Karen.
My little bar down at the bottom with where I can take care of my mic was leaping up and down, and I wasn't fast enough for it. I don't really have a comment to the duality part. What I've been thinking about as I've been reading this material, though,
You're frozen on my end. Samantha, is she frozen on your end? Yeah, okay. So I'll just chime in here for a minute until Dan can get back on and she catches up. So I would say that duality is what makes this work. Actually, like, because what the questions that I have about it that I don't understand are like, well, it seems to me like if we've lived all these lives and we've had all these experiences and we've gained all this wisdom, then why do we need to keep coming back? Or why? Of course, one of the reasons I think that way is because the human part of me says, why should people have to suffer? Um, what I have to keep in mind is that, and I mean, I don't know any other way to believe. So I get what you're saying. It is a set of beliefs. Everything is a set of beliefs, regardless of what it is. Even if you think that color over there is pink, that's your belief. But I might see it as red. Like, I mean, everything is a belief. So, and there's people that just believe all kinds of things, about how we came about and how things work. And there's a whole set of people out there that believe that this is just a um, a planet that's kept under siege by these reptilian aliens, and that they keep us in a constant state of upheaval because they feed off of our energy. There's a whole society of people out there that believe that. There's a whole society, of course, we have all these different religions, and they have, although all the creation stories have a very strong similarity, I have to say, guys. So it's really hard for me to believe just one of them's right. But there's people that just believe this is it. It's a one-time shot, and you do what you do, and you're gone, and that's the end. And everybody, that's the great thing about this planet. It's a free will planet, and you can think what you want and believe what you want. And the what guides my beliefs more than anything is, how does that belief serve me? Does it make me happy? Does it make me sad? Does it throw me into depression? Does it make me suicidal? Does it make me, for me, when I go to sleep at night and I finally get to lay down and I take that big breath and I just know that the universe, whatever it is out there, loves and supports me. Like, I'm always taken care of. Sometimes I get these fears where, oh my God, what's going to happen? I don't have this, and I'm not making this. I can't pay that, blah, blah, blah. And it all always works out, and then I have this amazing protection where, somebody's about ready to come through the door and they're like, no. So how can I even question, myself personally? But I understand everybody is living a different experience. And if COVID hasn't taught us anything else, it has definitely taught us that we are all living in our own little universes, because we all, because sometimes I hear stuff going on. I'm just like, what? Come on back, Dan.
Okay. And Samantha, you were right. When I came back on, it was still showing as recording, so that it still was recording. Um, but to finish what I was saying, I think the duality, even though, like I said, I can't remember really, because I believe I believe I am a soul and eternal, and that I will go back to. I don't. So some of that veil, I think that's where the, because I think we all sense it in a way somehow. We may not all describe it the same way, or we may not all agree the same way, or look at it the same way. But I think deep down we all have that sense that there's something bigger, greater, and more. I think that's where the duality comes in, and that's what you know. That's, I think, in lies where a lot of the questions come from that we all have, is in not fully understanding or being on the same plane or level, or as every, because we're all at different spots. Basically, is the best way to say it, I think. And so, even for like me, you know, the more I go through a lot of these things, it just strengthens my belief and my faith and my stuff of what I go through. It just gives me a little bit better understanding of what I'm dealing with. But I'm like you. There have been those moments where I've gotten feelings or vibes or senses of somebody, and I'm just like, most of the time it's like, ooh, I do not like that person, and they've not done anything or said anything, or but the feelings I get, and I can just sense it and feel it. It's like I already don't like them. There's something about them that just does not sit right with me. I never can explain exactly. Then a lot of times down the road is like, oh, okay, that's part of the reason why, because they're, you know, so. But it's weird how we sometimes can dial in and feel those things. Um, you know, can do that.
All right, Karen, see if you can come back on.
Well, I know I was trying to describe the man that had shot his girlfriend and then himself, and then stepped aside in the next lifetime. That they, meaning the girlfriend and the daughter, tried to work through some of the trauma of that. Um, I thought it was interesting that I was thinking. Well, they had mentioned that. He'd had like 6 or 7 lifetimes of fear and anger and violence, and there was no explanation. They weren't doing a thing on him. They weren't taking him to the mediums to have his life plan worked out. But for some reason, as I've been thinking about these people, thinking about what they need in their next life, what would be helpful to them to work through some things that they want to work through. I thought about that young man, and I should have looked up his name. I'm pretty sure he's on the other side of the world, but he was born without arms, and he was born without legs. And looks like Catherine might remember his name, but I have watched a number of videos of his where he speaks to young audiences and encourages them to live lives of good and worthiness, and sharing themselves with others, as opposed to getting caught up in drink and drugs and oversex and all that kind of thing. And I've thought it's interesting how that in between transitory life, where we plan our next lives, still have some of the things that troubled us, like the young girl who suffered hearing those gunshots ring out that killed her mother and killed the boyfriend. She didn't want to hear anything like that at all, and so she'd rather spend her life being deaf. There's just so much to think about I know, Dan, that you want to keep reminding us that you believe in God. I believe in God. I believe a lot in the same way that I was raised to believe. I guess perhaps the thing that's different with reading this book is that it's just common and natural for me with reading these books and feeling a commonality with the people whose stories they are and whose experiences they are in talking with the mediums, that these seem real to me as well. I don't see a loving God having any opposition to us continuing to grow, learn, better ourselves. We've got a vast universe to do that in. We've got a vast mind that you keep referring to that we only use a tiny portion of. We've got all these things that we can explore and develop ourselves better in.
I wanted to just comment really quick. You mentioning the God aspect of it, and of course, religion, duality, and all of that. And in one of the chapters, it actually talks about kind of like a metaphor for what is happening with the spirits or our spiritual selves versus God.
By thinking of it as.
Oh, sorry, did I interrupt you, Karen, or did you just freeze up?
That's all right. Go ahead.
Sorry. Maybe I'm having a connection issue. I don't know. I didn't hear you for a bit. I thought you were done.
Go ahead, Samantha, while you can talk. You're obviously at a place where you can talk. Go ahead, and then Karen can come back in and finish her thoughts. She did freeze up, and I thought she was finished too, so you didn't listen to her.
Okay, cool. I felt bad there for a second. Get my thoughts back. Blah, 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 blah. Now I've lost my train of thought. It'll come back later. Sorry.
No worries. All right, Karen, go ahead.
Well, I just think that we can all continue to believe as we were trained to believe. We can expand ourselves. We can, I just feel like it's so wonderful that there are so many good people. I think of that often. It's in my prayers often. I'm so thankful. There are so many good people on this earth, and I'm so grateful when they share with us things that allow us to open up our minds and consider things that maybe were verboten to us when we were children. That's really all I have to say at the moment.
Okay, I remembered what I was going to say about the metaphor of what's happening as far as our spiritual selves coming down on this earth and being human for a little while, and then coming back up to the spirit realm, if you will. And the metaphor was that our spirit selves are like the fingers of God, like reaching down into human existence and testing out these feeling, if you will, these different life experiences, and then coming back up to the spirit realm as like the arm of God. And I thought that was really interesting because I'm like, wow, okay, so if we're just the fingers and in the spirit form we're just the arm, then that means that there's something up even higher, another level of, that is the body of God. And then maybe another level above that might be the mind of God. And I don't know, one thing I've noticed in all the books that we have read is that there's really nothing that I've come across that has said anything about no existence of God necessarily. I mean, unless we start talking about like quantum physics books or, philosophy or whatever along that lines, where they're like, who knows? But I mean, we don't know really. we have no idea what the existence is of God, and we may just be feeling something that we can't explain, and we call it God. I mean, who's to say? But I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that, because I mean, obviously we all feel that there's something more than what we're experiencing in this life, and we don't know how to explain it, and all we can do is look to our ancestors to see what their philosophical beliefs are on things, and then hopefully maybe they have learned something before as well, and that they pass down to us in hopes that we're going to understand better. And I mean, the Bible was channeled, and here we are, we're talking about mediums and channels that are speaking from the beyond. And isn't that what Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John all were? Basically they were channeling something from the beyond and bringing it into the human awareness. And how many different spiritual texts have come about in that way, and how many different books and people who are speakers and all of that. They're all, it's like we're all speaking from some inner something, some inner knowing that we're just trying to communicate in this human language that is so limited in our ability to express what we feel. So I like how you brought up, Catherine, what is this belief or this religion or this book or whatever? What does it bring up in you? How does it make you feel? Because our feelings are super important, because that's what really dictates how we go through our lives. Is that if we're feeling an unpleasant way, then we have unpleasant experiences. And this week has been a big thing for me, because I have been struggling. Well, throughout my life, I've struggled with this inner anger that I don't understand, that I don't know where it comes from, which I wonder, maybe it's something from a previous life, who knows? But this particular week, it's come up, and it was really, really strong, and I was struggling with it so much. And and the more that I was thinking about the things that I thought that I was angry about in the moment, the more angry I became. And so it's so important that when what we focus on is what we experience, and what we learn, what we believe, that's what we experience. And so, I mean, luckily I was able to kind of, refocus my thoughts this week and overcome some of this anger. And a lot of it, I just had to let it out. I had to just get with my husband and be like, look, I'm about ready to blow up here, and I need somebody to blow up to. And, he's good on that. He's good that way, right? So, and I was able to kind of overcome this hump of it just kept building in this anger thing. But, yeah, so it was all on what I was focused on. I was able to refocus and get myself back out of that rut of anger. And yeah, so, okay, that's it for now.
That's interesting, Samantha, that you were talking about anger, because I think that's something I have deep down. Is I've got so much rage and pent up stuff.
Poor Dan, he just can't keep that connection. I don't know what that is going on there, but I think many of us feel that way, and I think that we're taught through society and culture and religion and different belief systems. We're taught that anger is bad, and we're taught to feel bad about ourselves if we feel anger. There's a lot of screwed up beliefs in my mind about anger. Anger is a powerful emotion. I can tell you, as someone who has physical challenges, that sometimes the only way I get through performing an activity is to get mad as hell to get it done. Like, I need the energy of that anger to actually make my body move to be able to do that thing. So this judgment that we have about emotions, and the way that we self-judge, even if nobody else, because most of us don't express our anger. We just don't. Because we're embarrassed about it. You know, we there's a million stories about why we don't express it. So think about all that pent up anger, and yet we're energetic beings. So that doesn't really, it just kind of sits there. And like Samantha said, it builds and it builds and it builds until you feel like you're about to explode. And we then we place all these judgments. So then we're not only feeling the anger, but then we're feeling shame and we're feeling guilt. We really just torture the hell out of ourselves. Come on back in, Dan.
Okay, I'll try and but finishing on, and I really do have all this. And last night I was dreaming, and in my was late or more towards this morning time when I was in that semi sleep awake state, but I was in that moment, and I was just like I was dreaming. I was really going off on my whole, literally my whole family, everybody in my family. I'm like, we've got a lot of discord in this family. We're going to sit down, and I don't give up. And I was going, I mean, I was from my real mom to my sister, which I don't have much of a relationship. I just got everybody there, and I just laid into everybody and said, look, there's so much crap and stuff going on, and so much pain and so much hurt that's in this family. We're going to do the, but then I also, when I was going through that, I also dreamed that I had like 15 or 16 different strokes during that whole time, that it just so waylaid me because of how I went off on them. So I think that was part of the self judgment, because I was like, you know, why can't we, as a family, be more able to talk through some things sometimes, to get past hurts and pains and issues and stuff, so that way this doesn't happen and keep going, and something that keeps going on and on and on. And it's just, that's just interesting how when Samantha said that, I'm like, I'm right there with you, Samantha. But mine was just it, and it was vivid. It was like, uh, and I'm like, wait a minute, because I think around Wednesday or Thursdays this week, I was like, I need to get out and go hit the tennis ball. That's my way and my form of how I kind of let out my frustrations. I go smack the living fucking hell out of a tennis ball against wall. I played tennis. Um, for 6 years in junior high school. I was my varsity team all 4 years in high school. That's where I've learned to channel that energy, because I can let it off when, like I said, I punched a brick wall before. I hit a light post before, and so with that, but it's, I've learned that I have that temper and that, anger, and understand when I start getting there that I need to release it. So like I said, today after I do some running around and take care of some other things, I'm definitely making time to go down to the tennis court and do that, because in that time somehow I tend to just leave it at the on the tennis court, and then I can walk away for a while until it builds back up again. But wow, that was powerful, Samantha. Yeah, I think I needed that to help remind me that, oh, I'm not the only one that feels this way sometimes.
Oh, can you still see me okay? My phone's tilted up with the charger in there. Hopefully. Okay, cool. Um, yeah, another thing that I was reminded of when we were all talking about anger, and, I know there's a ton, like a ridiculously huge amount of anger going on in the world right now. And so when we're talking about, anger, and then also in this chapter when they're talking about souls being really sensitive to other human energy, and it's like, for me, I can't even turn the TV on. Our TV, when it's on, it's either on Netflix or Prime Video or something like that. I can't have it on a public television channel. And because every time that something comes across, it's news related and whatever's going on in the world. And I don't get on Facebook very much either, except for to look at like what you guys post, because you post all friendly, happy stuff, for the most part. And but Chris, on the other hand, he's on Facebook constantly and always looking through all this political stuff, and I'm just like, I can't even bear to hear it, because there's so much anger. And so one other thing that popped up in this chapter is, I think it was Bob is the guy's name, who was the blind one, and I guess that he had done like a meditation session where he had maybe connected with his future self, like a future version of himself, and I thought that was just really interesting. Also, is because he said that his future self said that the people of that age referred to our age as the fear age. And, because that's another kind of running theme, I feel like, through my life is this fear thing. And my fears aren't I'm not like worried that, I'm going to get shot or murdered or something along that lines, but I have like this fear of financial fears and family related fears, and this fear of being alone, when if something happens to my husband, all of these kind of different things. And so it's just real interesting. This chapter, both of these chapters have brought up so many things to think about, and I'm looking forward to the next chapters too. So I know we're at the top of the hour, so I'll let you guys wrap up for today.
Final thoughts, guys?
I guess my mic's already off after coming back on. Did you stir up some good stuff for yourself, Dan, with contacting Google and really giving them an earful this last time? Because this time I've been the one that's been dropping off and freezing.
I have not gotten a response back from them, and I'm going to send them another one today, and I'm going to tell them that one of our other participants kept dropping off too for no reason, and why is this happening? And yeah, I'm going to send them another one today, because it's really aside all the anger I already have pent up this week, it's just added to it. I'm like, really? I'm dealing with this now again? At least it's not messing up with the recording, though. Every time I come back on, it does show it's still recording. So thank God for that. But
well, I did want to. I know you're going to close us out, Dan. So before you do that, I just wanted to say that anger is the expression of fear. It's. I totally believe this is the age of fear or whatever. And yeah, we're seeing a lot of anger right now, but that's the expression of fear. People are just, none of us obviously have ever experienced anything like that, like this in this lifetime. We may have experienced it elsewhere. I did want to point out though, Dan, because you said you were doing some dream work. Oh, there he goes. Oh my goodness. Well, he'll come back on. But first of all, gosh, I kind of wish he was on here for this, but he'll see the recording probably. I have had relationships with people that are of such a nature that it's not possible to, well, anything is possible. But for me, I am not willing to get in the same room or even on the phone or video or anything like that with this person to try to make amends. I don't want any kind of contact with this person whatsoever. But just because you can't get a human body to communicate with you in a way to smooth things out or get through things doesn't mean that you can't do it spiritually. So, in other words, Dan happened to do it in his dream, and that's a great way to do it. And he probably thinks that that was just a dream, but it probably wasn't just a dream. It probably was you making amends or trying to make amends with your family out of body. And that's two completely different things. So I have had relationships where there was something that wasn't balanced in that relationship, and I went to them as a spirit. I went to them through my imagination, if you want to call it that. You can call it whatever you want, but I communicated to them telepathically on a spiritual soul type level, and and made those amends, or expressed my anger towards them, or whatever that communication was that I needed to do that I did not feel safe enough to do in the human form. And interestingly enough, those relationships smooth out. Um, I'm sure Samantha, I know that she will agree with me on this, that you don't need to fix anybody except the way you're looking at the situation. Because once you change your mind about the situation, it doesn't need to be fixed because there was nothing wrong with it to begin with. So I'll let you come back in, Dan, and close us out.
Well, once again, thanks for joining us this week. If you'd like to join us and get in on the topic and the subject or be on the panel, you can always click on the links and subscribe below and like on Facebook. You can find us on Facebook at Mindset Mastery Collective and comment there to any one of us, and we'll see about getting you plugged in and everything. We're always looking for new people, new perspectives, ideas. It's a safe place. We can all share our thoughts and feelings without judgment or anything, because we're all here. One, because we all love each other here. We all greatly appreciate each other's views and know that it's not meant with any malice or our hurtful intentions. It's all to help us grow and grow more in who we are and what we're here for, and to help make us better people so we can spread more love and you know just genuine love out there in the world. So with that, um, again, Your Soul's Plan by Robert Schwartz. um, Come join us, and we look forward to hearing from you. And any last comments from anybody else, or are we done? Okay, see you guys next week. Have a nice week. Okay, I'm trying to stop the recording. Give me a second. Come on.